Hello and welcome to another episode of Before the Baldman Speaks. I'm your host, as always, Andrew Lawrence, and we are coming to you live directly after UFC Dublin Fight Night 76, featuring the main event of the evening between Paddy Holohan and Luis the Last Samurai Smolka, winning it in the second round via rear naked choke? Yeah, rear naked choke submission. Here, helping me break down all the action and correct me on the shit that I fuck up and forget, is one of my favorite people in all of Twitter, Joseph Gardner, Joey G Sports. How you doing, Joey?
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Andrew. I'm doing pretty fantastic. Card was all right. I mean, you can't really complain about afternoon to early evening MMA. It gives us something to do when we'd otherwise just be a menace to society, I suppose.
Yeah, let's talk about this, because I did want to talk about it, and I'm glad you kind of segued into it, and thanks to the ESPN. What are you going to do? A lot of people, shout on this card, and it wasn't a great card, but I'm the kind of MMA fan who, when I'm hanging out and not doing much, or I'm working on something on the internet, or I'm just need something to kind of casually watch, I'll put on a regional MMA card. I don't mind doing that at all. I'll even, rewatch, if Pancrase happened the week before, or Shudo Brazil. I'll throw it on just to watch some guys scrap. Now, to me, this card read exactly like a Cage Warrior card would be 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Probably a very high-level Cage Warrior card. And I have no problem watching those cards. So I think people who are complaining that, this card wasn't, stacked enough aren't really looking at it, through the proper lens. It's the middle of the afternoon. You don't have to give it your full attention. It's a fantastic card just to kind of put on and be kind of casually or entertained by at a distance. You with me on this?
Oh, I agree 100%. I can echo those sentiments about not fully paying attention. I had a couple streams going at the same time, some college football. I was even playing a little FIFA here and there with my brother, just having a good time. And for part of the card, you could say that it really wasn't even worthy of attention. I hate to be that guy that bags on fights, but some of them just weren't very interesting to me. So.
No, I think there were definitely, particularly two fights that come to mind that were really, worthy of some very sincere criticism. But let's talk about the main event to start off. Luis the Last Samurai Smolka, tough Hawaiian kid, gets himself out of some really bad spots. There was a couple of submissions there that it looked like Paddy had, and it looked like it was going to be, his night. But Luis Smolka kind of just stayed calm, stayed composed in there. When he had the stand-up exchanges, he was clearly ahead and winning them. And, finally hit a transition, got in a really dominant position and put a beating on Paddy until Paddy had to give up his back and stick in the rear naked choke. What do you think is next for Luis Smolka? It's a thin division, 125 pounds, a very dominant champion, but they're always looking for contenders. Do you look to him to be one of these contenders?
Maybe at some point. He's 24 years old right now. He has a lot of growing to do, I still think. And the good news is he's young enough to where he can. The performance was a solid one. I think that while Paddy Holohan isn't a fantastic fighter by any means, and I've been one to call him a bit overrated, you had to expect that he was going to come out pretty strong, being the main event in Ireland, his home nation. And, yeah, I think that as far as Luis Smolka's capabilities, he weathered that storm as well as he could. He's been put in precarious situations before, and against Chris Carriasso, he showed some real weaknesses. But here, he was able to fend off those submissions, which I was pretty impressed with. He did give up his back a couple times, was able to fight out of it, and then, hey, I think the fact that he was a better athlete and all-around better MMA fighter shone through in the second round after Holohan maybe dumped a little bit of his gas tank there and maybe had a bit of an adrenaline dump as the fight wore on.
Yeah, I think what I think impressed me the most about this fight from the perspective of Smolka isn't really what he displayed, but really his composure. And if you're going to become a high-level fighter, you have to have that calm under fire, and he had it in spades today. I still think a lot of his skill sets need developing, and he is very young, which is good. but the window for those lightweight classes, it's a young man's game in it. So he really has 2 years to kind of, develop what his final product as a fighter will be almost in 125 pounds before he starts becoming, the older half of the division. So you could slow roll him a little bit, but or you'd like them to kind of slow roll his progression a little bit. But what do you see next for him? Because there's such a desert of talent there that maybe it's not possible for the UFC to not put him up against someone who is considered like cream of the crop.
Right. See, I saw a few people on Twitter after the fight talking about, is he top 15 caliber? The only top 15 fighter that he has fought, I believe, is Chris Carriazo, and he lost that fight, obviously. And then you look at the rankings of top 15. Number 15 at the moment is Sergio Pettis. With the performance Pettis put on in his last bout, you would have to favor Pettis in that bout if he was to face Smolka. Maybe a guy like Chico Camus, who's hanging around number 14. He's kind of been a stepping stone or maybe a measuring tape, for lack of a better expression, for some other guys who have come up through the rankings. But as far as beyond that, I mean, you're looking at predominantly solid grapplers, and these are the kind of fighters that I think might give Smolka trouble, the ones that will be able to put him on his back and the ones that he won't be able to sweep out of position or perhaps turn the tables on. I mean, we're talking about starting with number 13, even Ali Bogatinov. He's strong enough to be able to do that to him and would also hold his own on the feet. Wilson Hayes can grapple. Ray Borg's a fantastic scrambler. Dustin Ortiz, very solid wrestler. Zach Makovsky can wrestle. Kyoji Horiguchi, well-rounded. Moraga, Cejudo, McCall, Formiga, Dotson, Benavidez. I wouldn't favor him over any of those guys.
I mean, the clear, the clear detriment in his skill set to wrestling, and it's unfortunate to be in this weight class and not really have a wrestling pedigree, only because, if you have the skill set to do it, you could really hold down an opponent and really just neutralize everything they're going to do. Now, he is 24, but wrestling's one of those arts that kind of either a person will gravitate to, or they're never going to really get into it. Carlos Condit for years, everyone always said, where's the wrestling? Learn the wrestling. But it just isn't kind of in his nature as a fighter. It isn't what interests him as a fighter. So he never really, developed a great wrestling game. And for that matter, his wrestling, takedown defense, grew very little, even though, he did have some improvements here and there. Do you think that Smolka's one of these guys who is able to learn and able to make corrections? Do you see from his last fight to this fight a evolution in kind of that takedown defense, or is it always going to be something that's a detriment to his career?
To call it an evolution would be a strong word.
Sorry.
Also, no, I mean, you went from one end to the other. I got what you were setting up right there. No, definitely not an evolution. Can he improve? Absolutely. He's young, like I said. I believe this was the first time in all of his training camps that he had ever done strength and conditioning, which will be a big deal for a guy like him. But that also brings me to my point why I think he will probably never achieve the caliber of wrestling that will help him succeed at the highest level in flyweight, because his frame is just not really built like it. You don't see many wrestlers with the type frame that he has fighting at their weight. Whenever they're one of the taller, more spindly dudes in the division, you're not usually going to see them securing double legs, single legs often against like more stocky, well-built guys, much less defending these, because as I said, all the guys above him in the division, essentially, without maybe the exception of Chico Camus and a couple other guys, they are very solid grappling-based fighters. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough one for him to do that. Now, if he can keep some of these fights on the feet for even brief periods of time, he's shown to be very dangerous and very flashy and exciting. I like him as kind of an action fighter in the division. I doubt that he'll ever be a consistent top 10 guy. But who knows, man? The game's evolving. You see guys breaking the mold with their frame a bit. I mean, John Jones doesn't have the typical wrestler's frame, but he's very solid. Obviously, Smolka's no John Jones, but
John Jones has the freak strength. He's got that Jones Brothers freak strength in himself.
Not to mention, have you seen what he's been doing lately? You've seen the lifts and stuff he's posting on his Instagram? He looks like a freak, man. He looks like he's stacked on another 20 pounds.
Homeboy's posting more videos of his workout than, like, my old high school friends. Never left town. You know what I mean?
Like the
Um,
gym buddies.
yeah,
Always
yeah.
posting their workout video.
My old football buddies, yeah. They're like, bro, I'm still squatting 325 on the regular reps. Um,
Yeah, we know the type.
let's talk about the other side of this. Paddy Holohan, took a loss today, but showed himself to be pretty good. Availed himself very well. That came out wrong, I think. I think his performance was actually quite impressive. I think that the line flipped near the end of this, and Smolka became the favorite, and it should have been that way. I really think he has the athletic, advantage, and I think that Paddy Holohan really is swinging above his above his station a little bit every time he gets in there, just because he's not a world class athlete in that 125-pound division. It's really hard because there is elite athletes in that division. What do you think he takes away from this beyond a little nice win bonus from the UFC for carrying the main event?
For sure, he'll get that bonus. And for everything we just said about Smolka, Holohan has all the same deficiencies, but he's not a good striker. So then that puts him in the class of, well, he's not a great athlete, but he's one of those scrappy guys that's going to make it a fight, at least for as long as his cardio hangs up, or holds up, I should say, and then he can get himself into some trouble, especially against a dangerous guy like Smolka. Holohan's a perfect guy to put on any European card where he can gain or garner a good following, and he's an exciting guy to put on exciting fights. That's about all I see in him. I've never sold on him as a guy that should be near even money or favored against Louis Smolka. And, that being said, I was happy to cash a little bit on Louis Smolka's performance there in the main event.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were with you on it, and I was very nervous just because of kind of what happened in the fight. I thought that there was a possibility that like an adrenaline rush, and he could kind of give him that rush of punches to getting close, and then maybe in a scramble get a submission. And there was points where that suspicion and that worry were quite valid, but by the end of it, it seemed that the athleticism of Smolka just was going to carry the day. Let's move on to the co-main event. A fight that I didn't like as much. I know that there was a lot of hype because Norman Park decided to throw a pink purse at Reza Madadi in the weigh-ins, but this is a fight that kind of got people hyped up, on a publicity stunt, and really didn't live up to the hype. How do you take
Norman Park fight? So
let's be real. Norman Park has been involved in some of the more dull fights that I can remember. If you go back and make an attempt to watch his tape reel, it's not a pleasant experience. I picked Reza Madadi in this fight to make another, for the underdog victory. Unfortunately, I think it was just Reza was just a little bit too old, and he's not able to anymore physically execute the style that he's known for, which is, that mad dog, really tough guy style. What did you think of this fight? Do you think that there's much of a future in the game for Norman Park?
Well, I didn't think much of the fight. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention once it became a bit obvious that Madadi just didn't really have anything for him. Maybe 2.5 years ago when Madadi wasn't, per Steven, and he was out there still active in the fight game, I would have probably given him a better shot, and I probably would have taken a stab at him as an underdog. But Norman Park is what he is. He's going to win decisions against guys that fail to hurt him. He's methodical. He's got a little underrated grappling game. His striking is tight, but it's not powerful. So he's always going to be in these kind of fights where it's boring. He's just going to win decisions or get beat up a little bit. He's tough. I got to give him that. Madadi hung in there too. He was tough. What do I make of the fight? This is a fight that I won't remember any specific details from in a week because it didn't do anything for me. Norman Park in the division, he'll just be a guy. I'm waiting for him to fight the guy that's going to put the lights out and make me some money and make me happy. But Park was what, minus 250 or something here? Was it even higher than that? I didn't even.
It was close. It was minus 300 at some point, I think.
Okay, well, see, this is the kind of fight that I can't justify betting on Norman Park, even though I've figured he would win this matchup because he's not a guy who's going to finish fights. So that takes away, essentially takes away an avenue of victory. And also, I just don't like him very much. So I have a hard time finding myself wanting to root for him. So therefore, the money thing. I want to be at least a little interested in the guy that I'm placing a wager on most of the time, unless we're talking about a blanket who's going to lay on someone and make us easy over money or easy decision money. But yeah, Park, just nothing good about him in my eyes. I don't like him, and I don't like really. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's something, identifiably unlikable about Norman Park. Even on the microphone today, he said kind of, no, actually, in his interview, he was a complete dunce. Now that I think about it, like, he gave up the whole, you're going to start a whole grudge match, and then you're going to go out there and be like, yeah, I'm just starting grudge matches to gain interest because I see all these other guys doing it. It's like, well, what all those other fighters that you listed do is they keep up the charade. If you're going to go after dummies, because we all know there's a lot of people who watch the sport and really enjoy, the drama aspect of it. And I've been very vocal about the fact that we need, we need wrestling fans. We need idiots to watch this sport because we need fucking their money. So they're welcome to the table. But don't take down the fourth wall. They're still watching you here. Just because you're having an interview with your buddy Dan Hardy, it's not you and Dan Hardy at the gym, dude. Like, you're on a microphone in front of everyone. This is being broadcast. You just gave up the shtick right in front of everyone. What the fuck are you doing, dude?
Can't break character, man. Totally broke character. And so any respect that I had for the little bit went out the window. Even more hate for Norman Park coming his way now. So you know what? Fuck
Norman Park. And let's end on that. Fuck Norman Park. Reza Madadi, just a little bit too old for the game. Professional cage fighting is not for 37-year-olds, especially 37-year-olds who spent the last year and a half in prison for stealing $100,000 worth of designer handbags. Now, for my decision for fight of the night is this next fight. Darren Till against Nicholas Dalby. Just a really great back and forth fight. Some interesting, choices with the decision. It ended in a draw. In case that wasn't clear. What did you think about the draw? And do you think that was the correct score to give?
I agree with the draw. I thought that after the third round, Dalby dominated it. Won a 10-8 in my opinion. After Till had taken the first round clearly, the second round.
Close, yeah.
It was close, but I thought it was
solid.
Pretty much a Till round. So I felt comfortable with my bet, which was on Darren Till at plus 120 for a couple units. I felt comfortable going into round 3, or I just don't get finished, don't slow down. He showed some signs in the second of maybe slowing a bit. Turns out that he claims he had a shoulder injury, which he picked up, I think, early in the fight. Say what you want to about his conditioning. He gassed, whatever. He's a young kid. He's 22 years old. He has a lot of potential, in my opinion. And at 22, that is obviously the most raucous environment he's ever been in to fight. He had a great start. He may have had a bit of an adrenaline dump. The shoulder injury might have caused him to think too much about what he was doing, and that can cause you to fatigue. Or maybe his cardio is just not as good as it should be. We don't really know. We've never seen him go deep in a fight like this. Not to mention, let's not take anything away from Nicholas Dalby, who is very game, and he is a grinder that will keep on pushing. He's a tough son of a bitch, and he brought the best out. Till brought the best out of him by laying that beating on him and making him fight back and claw back into the fight. That's essentially a win for Dalby to not take an L in that fight because he was clearly behind.
I was very impressed with his striking. I kind of expected if he was going to win this fight, it was going to be, the press against the cage and grind. You mentioned his striking. I thought he availed himself very nice in the striking. And I think that that Till had, where he struggled was in kind of his striking defense. He left a couple too many holes open, which is something that's extremely common for a fighter of 22. You see a fighter at 22 years of age, you're just excited that he has aggression in the striking game and that, he strings together combinations and, kind of has that patience and that feel for range. Kind of one of the last things you acquire, through years of striking training is your ability to stay, defensive while engaging in your offense.
Yeah, for sure. And, to add on a little bit about Darren Till that I was mentioning earlier, I think he's a really solid prospect. And Dalby being a little older, when I broke this fight down on Cage Cash, which unfortunately our episode was lost in the abyss as Nate Miller had a few.
Shout out Nate Miller.
Shout out to my boy Mad Dog at Nate Miller MMA. And it's not entirely his fault. Usually I'm backup recording, but since I was slacking as well, we had no episode this week. But I mentioned that I like this matchup. Till and Dalby, they're both game. Till's just more dangerous in my opinion, and he's a better athlete. A little fresher. He was also quite a bit bigger, it seemed to me. He's a massive welterweight. Like,
very large.
Welterweights did not look like this several years ago. Like, George St. Pierre might have had the right idea when he bounced out of 170 when he did, because it's only going up from here. They're only going to get better and bigger and stronger and faster. So I really thought Till was the right side. I really thought Till was going to be able to use his athleticism and the size to beat him. But Dalby really impressed me here. You know, the eye test told me after their last fight that Till was the better guy. Maybe I was right. Maybe I was wrong. I feel like I was still on the right side. But, again, my opinion of Dalby has gone up a lot here. At 29, he's probably still improving a little bit too. And both guys keep their undefeated record intact.
Yeah, I think I didn't mention this, but I scored the fight actually, with straight 10-9s the whole way. I think I was influenced in not scoring that final round of 10-8 because that first round by Till could have easily been scored at 10-8 as well, and I didn't give that 10-8 out, so I felt kind of reluctant to give a 10-8 out in the third. Nonetheless, I was completely happy with the draw. I was almost, more happy with the draw than, had Till won, because I feel like, Dalby did, avail himself so well in that third. Consensus that was the fight of the night. I mean, there wasn't that too many other great spots. Yeah, right. This is a no-brainer.
Maybe if Holohan and Smolka had gone a little longer, maybe you could make that case. But this was certainly fight of the night. And I'm with you. I was happy with the draw, even though, like I said, I didn't cash my bet. And I think that you're right. You're in your own right to say that, well, you want to score at 29-28 for Till because you didn't want to give a 10-8 in round 3 and not one in round 1 for Till. That's cool. I can appreciate that. And, this fight being scored a draw, though, I think it shows some consistency on the part of those judges, 2 of them together, and at least they're going to stick by their guns. They're going to score a fight, and they're not going to bounce around and, just have wacky scorecards across the board. I would be impressed if we saw more draws, because there's some fights that you could easily say are draws, and either judges are reluctant to give a 10-8 or they give a 10-8 that's just like very confusing. Like, why is there a 10-8 in this fight? Like, why is he a 10-8 in Sergio Pettis, Chris Carriazo?
We actually had an interesting 10-8 on this card, and we'll get to it later. But I would, if people watch, Japanese MMA, a lot of draws happen in Japanese MMA, and I think that, it's a cultural thing more than anything else, because, the judges will have a lot of respect for both fighters and not want to get either fighter a loss more than they feel the need to give someone a win. That's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the opening card on the main card, if there even is a main card of a Fight Pass television program. I guess there is, because you have to change streams. Neil Seery.
Stupid. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, we can real quick.
Why?
Well, here's the deal. I thought about this probably more than I should have. It's a different broadcast 100% for them on the TV side. This is getting broadcast on like Sesenta or whatever the fucking channels are in Europe that actually take UFC programming. So there's probably a lot of markets that only take that main event, that 4-card main event, a 2-hour block of programming. And there's probably some that that take a prelim on one station and then, the main card on another. So I imagine that's why it happens. But I think that there could be just like some easily written programming into, or some coding to be done for, the U.S. fight, the Fight Pass viewership in the U.S. that can, just move from one stream to the other stream right away. But,
yeah,
okay.
That makes sense to me. I mean, why can't they just seamlessly switch or flip over? Maybe have a black screen for a half second or 2 seconds or whatever. And then
any screen but that endless hell drone that is the upcoming fight, whatever that music is that that non-copyright royalty-free bullshit. Let us end that, please.
One time I forgot to turn off my my Fight Pass on my phone, and my Chromecast was still going on the other TV. So I turned the TV off. I turned the TV back on maybe 5-6 hours later, and it's still going. Still going.
It never ends.
Relentless drone music, and it's kind of scary too. I mean, I don't know. I'm good with it. Let's just get rid of that. Switch me right over. I mean, I'm paying for this service. You can improve it enough to make me not have to actually click. I mean, maybe that makes me sound lazy, but I'm not alone in this. I've seen a lot of people complain about it.
I think it's dumb. There's no question it's dumb.
And why did they do the pay-per-view intro with this card today? Are they doing that on every single card now?
I guess so.
They were. I don't know.
It's nice-ish. I mean, I'm trying not to get mad about shit. You know, if they say it's bad for my health, and you know that I want to flip out about that stupid fucking Face the Pain techno remix.
Oh yeah, I was about to say. Let's not get you started on Face.
God damn it! But I'm not getting frustrated about dumb shit anymore. I'm a bigger person than the UFC. The UFC can't break me. But 100%, go fuck yourself, UFC, for putting out that Face the Pain remix.
Someone just tweeted me a comment, I guess, trying to explain this. A guy that follows me at LemonGF. Apparently, in the UK, the UFC has a deal with BT Sports, so there's blackouts on loads of Fight Pass events, pay-per-views, etc. So I guess that's why they have to flip it over. But
but our point remains the same. Our point remains the same. You have two streams, lock them in on one, or there should just be like a live stream channel. There's 1,000 solutions. But shout out to Lemon FG. Thanks for letting us know that. But all right, we talked about the main card. I do want to talk about selected fights in the undercard. I did it. I'll let that go for now. Let's approach it this way. What was your favorite card, or what was your favorite fight from the preliminary card?
It's really hard to not enjoy watching Cathal Pendred get his ass whipped because he's cost me money in the past. He's usually an intolerable fighter to watch.
He's so boring.
He thinks he wins every fight that he's in, so try telling me you won that one, motherfucker.
That, you know me, I do these little, I do an A to F ranking of every single card, or every single fight, and that was the best grade. You know, if this was on a curve, he got the A+, but I gave it a B+, only because I felt a little guilty giving it an A. It was a sweet knockout. You know, I have to I have to tone down my own impulses to be a hater. But that was a sweet KO, and I think a lot of people had a big grin on their face afterwards. Mind you, I bet a half unit on Kyle Pendred just because I thought, you know, he could Ireland this up. You know, the hometown decision
possibility. Always is. If he can get to the cards, if he can just get to the cards.
That's what I'm saying. If he pressed him against the cage for more than a minute in the entire fight and he made it to the cards, he probably would have got that decision.
It's like once he gets to the cards, the fight itself doesn't even matter. It's like the judges are just playing rock, paper, scissors over there to say, oh, did Pendred get this one? Yes, he got it. Okay. So, yeah, let me just add here that Tom Breeze is pretty good. Pretty good fight.
That's if we're going to talk about this fight for real. I think that Tom Breeze is a legit prospect. And everyone was saying, you know, look at the competition, but I'm looking at other things when I see a fighter like that in a spot like this. Look at the composure. Look at the patience in the striking game. Look at his complete, what made everything start going downhill for Pendred was a counter strike from Breeze, and he was so composed and saw that coming a mile away. He saw offense coming at him with eyes wide open, planned out exactly what he was going to do. I'm going to step to the left, I'm going to throw this bomb, and I'm going to land it right on his chin. So you're talking about deadly accuracy, composure, calm, while being in a crowd environment that is less than ideal. These are attributes of someone who can go far in the fight game, in my opinion.
I agree, and you gotta. I mean, for all the shit we talked on Cathal Pendred, he's not. He's not known. He's a tough guy. He's a tough fighter. He doesn't get finished really very often, and he's been able to compete with some decent fighters in the division. So Breeze was just breezing through him as he did. I think you can give him a high grade there.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier welterweights are getting bigger and bigger. Excuse me, I heard or read somewhere that he walked into the cage at 200 pounds. that's rehydrating 30 whole pounds,
Are you
which
serious?
which is so insane that I hesitate to believe it. You know what I mean? Oh, I think we froze out on you, but I actually wanted to move on to another fight on the main card, and for sure that fight is my KO of the night. I feel like it's a $5,000 bonus check straight to the Brits' pocket. One fight I wanted to talk about was Michael LeBout against Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray had a lot more struggle in this fight than he probably should have. I look at Stevie Ray as a destroyer, and I think I remember his last fight, which was probably a European card as well. Just walking away super impressed by Stevie Ray and everything. I think he had a huge KO victory or just won in some sort of impressive fashion. And Michael
Scotland.
Thank you. And welcome back. I don't know, maybe my internet kind of froze up a little bit. Michael LeBout, the Frenchman, kind of, was impressive. In my card, he stole the first round. Maybe, I was kind of hoping, it's, looking for weaknesses in Stevie Ray's game. Does this performance, even though it was a clear, a victory for Stevie Ray, does it kind of temper your expectations or your view of Stevie Ray?
Not really. Again, if anyone would have been able to listen to our podcast this week, Nate and I talked a little bit about this fight. We picked Stevie Ray to win. We thought it was definitely a matchup that was a good setup spot for him to pick up a W, but maybe not as an impressive fashion as he had in the past. Now, Paul Redmond is not a horrible fighter in his own right, but just a pretty bad matchup.
Yeah, it looks like we got some freezing on Joey. I'm not sure if it's a problem over there or a problem with me, but we'll try to fix some technical issues and get him right back into this mix. Yeah, the Stevie Ray fight, I found it to be beyond dull. I thought that, after such an impressive, dominant performance, I was expecting a destroyer. He was a massive favorite. He was a minus 500 favorite, which I thought was completely out of whack. That's why I did take a stab on LeBout, even though, it was one of those fights where I really was just betting value more than thinking there was any real shot of him winning. I just thought that those odds were so completely out of whack. I don't see how you could put Stevie Ray even into a parlay or anything. I want to talk about Erica Almeida and Ashlyn Daly, but I do want to wait for Joey to reconnect because I'm hoping that whole issue sorts itself out. Only because it was one of the more bizarre third rounds of fighting that I may have, and we had some complete donkeys on the scorecard there. Darren Elkins against Robert Whiteford. That was actually a pretty decent fight. I think overall ended up scoring this a C minus, which is a below average score for me. Only because Darren Elkins kind of just did that predictable Darren Elkins thing where he lunges, punches at you, clings onto you, and then works his takedown game. Robert Whiteford had enormous power, and I thought that he could be very successful in this fight, but he completely gassed out and just fell off the map after that first round. Hey, yeah, good, we got you back. I just closed out talking about Stevie Ray, but and then I saved talking about Ashlyn Daly and Almeida because I wanted to get your input on it. But I was talking about Darren Elkins' performance, a clear victory, but still a guy who's kind of stuck within the wheelhouse of his style, I think. And this is kind of a performance where he was almost a little bit lucky that the guy with power gassed.
Yeah, I agree on that. I'll try to touch on all three real quick so I can make up for lost time.
No, don't talk about Daly. We'll talk about it again.
Oh, okay, we'll go back to Daly, but I'll hit Stevie Ray and whatnot. Yeah, sorry, internet must have shit itself. But
that's fine.
Anyway, Stevie Ray and Jesus, what's his name? Michael LeBout. LeBout was a lot bigger than him, and that's one thing that I thought was going to be an issue. And even though Stevie Ray was fighting out of the Southpaw State, I think that might have been a little bit of the reason he was a little less aggressive than he was last time out. I still think he's a good fighter, and if they match him up right, he could be an interesting action fighter going forward. Probably never championship material, but another guy to keep on the radar out there in Europe because he can be in some exciting fights and draw a good crowd.
Yeah, and UFC wants action fighters, especially in Europe. It's I think he's perfect in a role like that. Definitely got his spot in this promotion for a long time.
Absolutely. And then as far as the Elkins Whiteford fight is concerned, Nate Miller and I went back and forth on this one. Nate thought that Elkins was a really good steal at minus 140 or so, and it ended up looking that way in the end. I think there were moments though where Whiteford had opportunities, and he did hit him well and with some good power shots in the first round. Elkins wore him as he normally does. But I think there's some signs maybe of Elkins slowing down a bit. He has been beat up a lot in some of his prior fights. Got stopped by Chad Mendez, which I'm pretty sure that's the first time he's ever been stopped in his MMA career, right?
Yeah, maybe, but it's hard not to get stopped by Chad Mendez because he's a fucking bulldozer.
True, and that's probably about the worst stylistic match
ever.
The guy that he can't take down, it's a much better striker than him, yeah. So Whiteford honestly was in a bad style matchup here too. I just hesitated betting Elkins because of the crowd factor. I mean, these crowds are real, man. I mean, obviously Whiteford's not Irish, but Scotland is a nearby neighbor, and he, as well as Stevie Ray, they had a big following, man. They had a big push from the crowd.
Dude, that Ryanair flight's only like 40 euros. You can get there in 40 minutes in your money.
Right.
It's an easy vacation.
And they came out in number, and it's one of those things. You don't ever know how someone like Elkins coming from the States is going to adjust to the time and the travel. I mean, it's not necessarily the longest trip in the world, but it's a thing. And for a style that he likes to push with high intensity, a lot of cardio dependency, I mean, I just didn't like it. And Whiteford showed okay, but he also showed his limitations. So, again, Whiteford, action fighter. He's going to knock people out that aren't as good as him on the feet and that can't take him down consistently. And I think his judo, he did have a pretty nice judo toss there on Elkins at one point, which is impressive to me because Elkins is a really solid grappler in his own right. So.
Yeah, I think one of those judo tosses got reversed, though. So, not a lot of hate on him, though, there, because Elkins is so well-versed on the ground. I wanted to talk about the 150, the strawweight, whatever the hell, 115 pounds women division is. It had one of the more bizarre third rounds that I think I've ever seen in professional mixed martial arts, in that we watched maybe 5 whole minutes of Ashlyn Daly engage with the person who was on the ground while she was standing by kind of just like grabbing her feet and not passing into her guard.
I was waiting for her to penetrate at any moment.
or throw her, or attempt to throw her legs to the side, move to side control. There was a lot of options there, and it seemed like we almost got 2 whole minutes of her going with calf punches, or alternatively calf elbows, instead of engaging in kind of like a legitimate fighting technique that I've ever seen before.
Well, this is the thing with women's MMA. They always have moments in their fights where you're like, I've literally never seen this before, and I'm not sure it's actual technique. I'm not sure that she even knows what she's doing right now. It's just one of those moments like when you're a white belt in jiu-jitsu and you're rolling with someone who's a lot better than you. You're just trying to find any little thing to grab on.
Grabbing shit. Just anything.
You're gonna roll over and then if you're rolling with another white belt, you're going to grab a submission that's not even a submission, and you're just going to crank the shit out of it because surely they'll tap, right?
Tap. Yes, they're going to tap.
Maybe they even do. The other white belts just so, like, baffled, like, oh, my God, I'm in this precarious position. I have no idea to get out of tap.
I've tapped in those situations. You're just like, I don't know. I might get injured. This guy might know what's going on. Tap that out real quick.
We've all been there. We've all been there. And I feel like the women's game is at that, maybe not white belt level, but it's at the low level where just weird things happen that you really can't explain, and neither fighter can either.
I mean, if you've been in a fight in like real life, sometimes just like weird shit happens in a fight, or if you just watched a fight, like between your 2 friends who got pissed at each other in the schoolyard or whatever, like sometimes weird shit happens when you're fighting. Like, people slip and they end up in like a weird spot, and there's the weird struggle and no one wants to give an inch. And, like, these are the kind of things that you end up seeing in
might have lost you there. If
Oh.
I'm talking over you, I apologize.
Yeah.
It's probably on my end again.
No, but I'll continue. I'll continue with my point. What was my point? My point was this this division is so early that you end up kind of having all these weird moments because it's really like a raw fight based on emotion, and strategy kind of goes out the window and isn't, the level of technique isn't so instilled in these fighters that it matters so much. You can go very far in the female strawweight division right now by just being scrappy and having a goddamn will to fight. I think we saw, a great example of that with Paige Van Zandt in her early fights. Now, sure, her technique's kind of, coming along a lot, but I think early in the game, she got by a lot by just having a willfulness to get in there and scrap a little bit. Ashley Daly clearly has that will to scrap. I think that Erica Almeida, suffered a lot from just being, she suffered from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu curse, which is you're very comfortable in fighting on your back. And unfortunately, in this game, there's not going to be any finishes in a 115-pound division, so you're going to lose. And that's kind of how I see that. Joey, you're back. Great.
Oh, I've been gone? I just thought I was just listening to you.
Oh, no. Good. On my bad. Then, yeah, no.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, I know my internet connection is acting stupid for some reason. We have some weather issues down here in Houston. There's a lot of just
what's going on in Houston?
Wind. I guess some rainfall from that hurricane that's hitting Mexico right now, just drifting over towards us. We're just
that fucking hurricane is huge, man.
That's scary. That's a bit scary. I'm just happy that we're not bearing the brunt of that hurricane. Just some adverse weather conditions. I know there's a flood warning and whatnot, but anyway, I'm fine. Yeah. So maybe that's why my internet sucks. Maybe it's because Comcast can eat a dick. I don't know, but whatever. So yeah, what were we even talking about?
We were talking about Erica Almeida and this girl,
yeah.
but we can promptly move on. We can promptly move on.
Hey, I bet on a women's fight. I don't do that very often, but I felt like Daly near even money in Ireland. This is Almeida chick. She's not that good. Daly's scrappy. So I put money on her. I almost instantly regretted it just because I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Because you bet on a 115-pound women's fight?
But it won, so hey, fantastic. I actually didn't lose a bet today. So you actually got me on at good time. It seems like the last 2 times I've been on here, I lost a shitload of money.
It's been a curse. Yeah, you've been a very unhappy camper when you're usually on my show. Yeah.
So we broke the curse today, man. How did you do betting the card?
I lost 2 units. I bet 2 units and I lost them all.
Okay.
I didn't like any spots. I threw a half a unit on the French guy, just on value and knee-jerk stupidity, which I didn't really regret all that much, honestly, after I saw kind of how the fight went down. I threw the half unit on the Pendred, hoping for the robbery, and then I put a unit on my boy Mad Dog, just because I have zero. You want a fade plant? Norman Park is a fade plant, if there ever was one. Problem is in any other spot, you're not getting money. You know what I mean? He's going to be the underdog in every other fight that he's going to fight in, really, especially in that weight class.
If he steps up in competition, absolutely. I mean, look what he fought: Gleison Tebow. He fought Francisco.
Cashed it.
Yeah.
You gotta.
He'll never win fights like that. So you're absolutely right about that. I only had 4 bets today, which is light day for me. Anyone who follows me would know that. I actually, when we talked pre-show, I said I was 2-0-1. I was actually 3-0-1. I forgot about a parlay I had from from World Series of Fighting last week with Blagoy Ivanov. I parlayed him with Stevie Ray. That won 2 units.
You put a minus 500 in a parlay, or did you get a better price than that?
Hey, thanks for helping me break the curse on your show and spreading Fade Plan to yet another MMA podcast. Nate Miller will be extremely happy to hear this.
No one loves a Fade Plant like Nate.
I think Nate made up the original Fade Plan. I'm trying to remember who that was, but
I think he did. Yeah,
that's an excellent term. Should become commonly used across the MMA sphere.
Well, it's just so perfect because you do have to tend it. You can't just harvest it right away. Sometimes you have to harvest it at the right time. You have to be an experienced farmer and be able to look at your fade plant and know, okay, this plant's about to bud. Time to harvest, man.
Yes, absolutely.
There's probably another fight to talk about. Oh yeah, the curtain jerker. That's all we got left here. Bubba Bush, big favorite Bubba Bush. Your boy. He's from Texas, so he's your boy.
My boy. No,
he's from Texas.
Not my boy. Not at all. Not at all. I'm not advised to bet on Mr. Bush as other people did. I think he sucks, to be honest.
Is it allowed to have 4 words as your nickname? The Fighting Texas Aggie? Is that an acceptable nickname?
Is that his nickname?
Yeah, it is.
No wonder he lost, because A&M is a garbage.
No, and fuck you 1,000%. First of all, you can't reference the college you went to in your.
Yeah, right. He went to A&M, so less respect than I had prior. He sucks.
But if you were from Texas, and you just called yourself the Longhorn, that's an acceptable nickname. You know,
but
the Fighting Aggie.
What is an Aggie anyway? Someone explain this to me.
I don't know, dude.
An agricultural person.
Hey, you put a lot of thought into that. It makes sense because they're agriculture and what does A&M stand for? Agriculture and manufacturing.
I think so. A lot of schools, that A&M, like an agriculture.
It's a normal thing.
Yeah,
I hear it.
In all kinds of states, not just Texas. I think that's what it stands for. Agriculture.
They're just the only school that thinks they can play football.
I mean, their football team's not bad now. They've always thought they were good. They're just now recently actually are decent.
Yeah, but poor Bubba Bush. All that.
It's mechanical, by the way.
Of course it is. Fuck. Now I feel like an idiot. Now I'm on an internet show being a fucking moron.
I knew this too for some reason back in the day, but now I forgot.
Should have supported me. There's probably 6 people on Twitter who are gonna give me shit now.
They're right. They're probably all Aggies, so fuck them.
South Africa. This dude, Gareth McLennan, whatever. Soldier Boy is his nickname.
That's a
fantastic beard. Me and at California me and Dougie out there, we were admiring the beard. You know,
Who wasn't?
Yeah.
That beard was fantastic, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, he's gonna win, no doubts. And Bubba Bush, legacy champion Bubba Bush. Let's be honest, Kevin Casey has sort of a cult following nowadays on Twitter, thanks to certain shows like the MMA Analysis and whatnot. But Kevin Casey is not that good of a fighter. I mean, he's all right. He's a lot better than Bubba Bush.
He's fine.
He railed the shit out of Bubba Bush, and so that told me a lot. And now seeing him get absolutely railed by Gareth McClellan, that tells me even more that Bubba Bush will probably never fight in the UFC again.
Yeah. In between, what I did like about the South African cat is that he had a really bad first round and came back from it and really put it on him in rounds 2 and 3. But his corner, in some really MMA corner shit, decided to you know where this is going as soon as you say. Told him in between the first and the second round, he goes, great round. I think we did everything we wanted to. It's like, no, you clearly got taken down and lost an entire round. If that's your game plan, that's a horseshit game plan. Why the fuck?
The game plan looked like it worked, Andrew. He did win, didn't he? I mean,
Another point of respect. Another point of respect.
We need to make a new hashtag, MMA corner shit.
You know what I'm talking about. When you just say dumb shit to your boy, just to be supportive. Like, you could use it in, it's not even an MMA thing. If, your boy's drunk at a bar and hits on a girl terribly, and you just, want to keep his head in the game, you tell him some MMA corner shit.
Bro.
MMA corner shit, I wanted to point out also that South Africa probably had the best moment in the entire card in that he had the most timely cheat out of any fighter today. And I've made this point once, and I'll make it 1,000 more times. You have to cheat in MMA to succeed long term. If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win. And his cheat game was really top level there, I noticed.
Well, nowadays, cheating outside the octagon will get you in big trouble, more so than it would have before, and rightfully so. However, cheating inside the octagon, as you have stated, is essential to any great fighter's game. I mean, seriously, how hard is it to get a point taken away? Like, it's nearly impossible, unless you're just an idiot, or unless you are repeatedly horrible at disguising your cheating.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I will challenge people to name a great fighter who isn't also a great cheater. Maybe George St. Pierre. Nothing really comes to mind that was like a notorious George St. Pierre cheat. Although he did cheat on the scale during that Nick Diaz fight, but all the great ones.
Greased.
I'm sorry?
According to BJ Penn, George St. Pierre greased.
Oh yes, there we go. Master cheater.
If there's smoke, there's fire, baby. So hey,
every allegation in MMA has always been true.
Of course,
that's a fact.
Naturally. But look, how many times have you watched a fight where a guy grabbed the cage the very first time a referee took a point away?
Never. That's never happened.
I don't think that fight exists. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But why would you not? I mean, seriously.
Always grab the fence. It's there to be grabbed.
There were people saying that was fight changing. Maybe. I think Bubba Bush was on his way to being gassed already. Yeah. But hey, it definitely helped him secure that position where he did a lot of, ass whipping. So props to Gareth McClellan. No one should be bagging him for that. I mean, look, you can kick a guy in the sack and never get a point taken away on the first kick, or very rarely. You could poke a guy in the eyes and very rarely get a point taken away the first time. If you're really serious about your career, you're really serious about getting that dub, then you should probably be cheating as much as possible. Like, as the great late Eddie Guerrero would say, lie, cheat, and steal. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And, this is a fight game. We're trying to hurt people. So that seems a little dirty in its essence. So why not just take the extra step to, not abide by these rules that we've implied for the fighting game?
Yeah, let's be honest. There is no rules in MMA. We just invented them so that they'd let us do this sport legally. Let's give up this facade of this is an honorable sport of all nice gentlemen. And not only that, everyone's acting like a cage grab is the worst thing in the world. Like it's the most egregious thing you could do to someone. If I was in a fight on the street and somebody pressing me up against a cage, for sure I'm going to grab the shit out of that fence and I'm going to climb the fuck out of it and get back to my feet and I'm going to elbow that dude in the grill. That's just what you do. If it wasn't a rule and it was always known that you could grab the fence, no one would say shit. They'd be like, dude, you're being pressed up against the fence and you're being taken down. Grab that shit and climb.
Exactly.
We're saving people with broken fingers. Fuck a broken finger, dog. This is blood sport, dude.
Exactly. And of all the cheating things that you can do inside the octagon, grabbing the fence is the least violent of all of them. So, we're really going to get up in arms about grabbing the cage?
Joey, we're going to have a fight, and you can grab a fence, and I can repetitively kick you in the dick. Who has the bigger advantage?
I think that you're probably going to pop one of my nuts before I grab the fence and climb it and jump off of it.
The fence won't come into the issue. I'm going to only be trying to kick you in the nuts.
Oh, well, I won't be climbing or grabbing many fences while I'm laying down on the ground holding my sack, so...
Yeah, and then I'm going to soccer kick you in the face.
That should totally be legal. Those are some of the best finishes in MMA history involve soccer kicking people.
The most lethal combat... Yeah.
Might as well soccer kick each other in the dick.
Yeah.
Why not?
The most devastating combination in all of fighting is the kick to the dick, the soccer kick finish. And MMA doesn't have it, so MMA is really not a true sport.
That you might be onto something there.
I think I got it. That's a good note to end on, I guess. Let's put a bow on it, though. Your fight of the night is my fight of the night. It was the draw between Till and Dalby.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Pick your two performances of the night. Your finishes.
It's pretty easy for me. That goes to Luis Smolka and Tom Breeze. They both did excellent. And that those are the ones that stand out, so there you go.
There was only 4 finishes in the entire card. And McClellan's finish came with 2 seconds left in the entire fight, which I thought was ridiculous. Why are you going to let the guy endure so much punishment if you're not even going to give him the honor of a decision loss as opposed to a TKO loss? You could have definitely stopped that 15 seconds before. Yeah. Solid 15 seconds of getting pummeled on the ground. And then Neil Seery with a good submission. Had, the main event finished differently, maybe he could have snuck in there with the second best finish of the night.
He was destined to finish that eventually, right? He just kept trying. So
how many times have we seen guillotine not work out for people? But and it wasn't working out for him. I was actually going to make the comment stop going for guillotine chokes, Neil Seery, as he finished his opponent via guillotine choke. Overall, let's give it a letter grade. The entire card, A to F. What do you got?
I'm gonna go with a C+.
Solid.
Just because I wasn't really excited for the card. I was really excited for Joe Duffy, Dustin Poirier, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see that. I hope that they rebook that, although I have a feeling that they probably won't because it's not.
Let me interrupt you real quick. The biggest shame is that we saw Ben Rothwell on camera and he didn't do anything creepy or weird. Huge loss right there. That was disappointing for me.
I meant to add that I've also looked forward to Stipe and Ben Rothwell for some betting interest, as well as the fact that we'd get to see Ben Rothwell do weird, creepy shit, which is always of amusement factor.
Always a plus.
Yeah. So C+ because I didn't have high expectations. There were some underwhelming parts, but there were a few solid performances mixed in. So I'm gonna bump it from an average C to a C+.
Boom! I was at the B- rank. I liked some of the finishes here, and I looked at a lot of my grades. A lot of my grades were in the B-. We had 2 fights in a row that I found just to be very boring. The Stevie Ray fight and the Aslan Daly fight were just kind of a mood killer, at least for me, in the middle of the afternoon here. But, like I said, afternoon card, so, it gets kind of a little half-grade bump up from your C+ to my B-. And that's it. That's all we have for UFC Dublin and Fight Night 76, or whatever the fuck number it is. Joey, tell the people where they can find you at and, where they can hear more from you.
I am at Joey G Sports on the Twitter. You can find me and my co-host at Nate Miller MMA on our show Cage Cash, which you can also follow on Twitter at Cage Cash. We provide some gambling tidbits, a little sideshow entertainment, and just some random rumblings and grumblings from the MMA world. We do a weekly show, except this week when we failed to record it properly. So hopefully next week we'll have that ironed out. And I believe you're going to be on our show next Thursday, are you not?
Yeah. That's what my attorneys tell me. That's what my secretary has me penciled in for it. So
your agents booked you for next Thursday for the Pride Rules edition, which
means what?
Anything goes, man. We talk about some random crazy stuff. I believe we do MMA fact or fiction, and that's always a fun game for the fans. Fan questions appreciated, so send those my way, Nate's way, or Cage Cash's way.
Pride Rules means I come to your school and soccer kick you in the head while you're teaching kids how to do sit-ups.
Yeah, you should see the kids I teach to do sit-ups. They are pretty bad. You want to kick yourself in the nuts if you did my job every. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad.
Shout out to the kids. It's all about the kids.
The future of America is bright.
It's in your hands, Joey. In your hands. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the show. Shout out to everyone who always supports the show and always retweets the links and everything. I really do appreciate everything that anyone does to spread the word out there. Shout out to Joey for doing the show, and shout out to Nate, and we'll see y'all next week. I think 2 weeks from now we have a card in Dan Henderson against Vitor Belfort. Am I hallucinating that? But I think that's a real thing. Yep. So we'll see you all for the celebration of me making $1 million once Dan Hendo knocks out Vitor Belfort's living animated corpse. Thank you, Fight Fans, for tuning in as always. I'm Andrew Lawrence. You can catch me on Twitter at TheClownKid. Thanks for tuning in to Before the Ballman Speaks. Peace.